Ready, set, hut, hut.
As the hills of West Virginia resound with the sounds of Golden Blue football.
Almost heaven, West Virginia.
Now let's bring on the Mountaineer. Goes around about the 50 to 10 to 5. A touchdown, West Virginia. He did it.
He did it. Patrick White. Touchdown, Tavon Austin.
The Don Nehlen's Mountaineers enjoy walking in where angels fear to tread.
I think you think that these guys are going to fall over dead for you. Well, I got news for you. They're going to punch you right in the mouth. It's Mountaineer pride.
Nothing cheap, nothing dirty, but West Virginia football. West Virginia football.
We've no doubt tonight they shouldn't have played the old Golden Blue. Not this night.
They've done it. They've done it. A perfect season. And the Mountaineers, for the first time in history, undefeated and untied.
Don Nehlen and his Mountaineers, for the second time, have finished a regular season with an unblemished mark.
Ain't no stopping the Golden Blue.
It is a great night to be a Mountaineer wherever you may be.
What's going on, Mountaineer Nation? Welcome back into another live stream here on the Country Roads webcast, April 9th edition, and this will be a basketball-centric episode. We've got multiple additions to the upcoming roster here that will be Ross Hodge's first season at WVU. He lands another transfer, one that we talked about on the couple previous streams that I was pretty confident we would be adding to the transfer in list here in the near future as we keep up with it on our transfer portal tracker here on the CRW. Indeed came true. West Virginia does land Brenen Lorient, so we will talk about him as far as a transfer update. Then towards the tail end of the show, I'll do an update on some other potential targets that we can add to our transfer target list and talk about where we stand with all of those guys there. Got some good news on one of the very best players that's on that transfer target list that we've talked about in the past. We'll update on that towards the tail end of the stream, but Ross Hodge also bringing in his first high school recruit. So we got to talk a bit about DeAndre Thomas, was previously committed to North Texas. They let him out of his letter of intent. He's going to come to WVU now. So West Virginia, previously had 3 commits in the class, all decommitted once Coach DeSlees left. Now West Virginia adds DeAndre Thomas, so they do at least have one high school player coming in and maybe working on one of those 3 decommits, trying to get them to recommit, and that would be Braden Hawthorne. So a bunch of recruiting and transfer portal updates to talk about here throughout this stream. That'll kind of be what's at hand here, what's on the docket. Appreciate you guys watching live on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. If you're on Facebook or Twitch, come on over to the CRW YouTube channel, subscribe here. That way you can get the pre-recorded episodes and podcast episodes in addition to the live streams. And if you are here on YouTube, be sure to hit the thumbs up button. Help us out with that crazy YouTube algorithm. You can do that whether you're watching live or on the playback. And be sure you're subscribed to the channel so you can stay up to date on this WVU basketball roster as it continues to unfold. And we're doing the same on the football side as roster changes are happening there as well. So be subscribed to the channel so you get all those directly into your feed. Throw any questions, comments you got there in the live chat. I'll try and catch up on those before we wrap up as well. And if you're not in here live, getting a chance to chat, throw them in the comments. Always appreciate those interactions also. So with no further ado, let's start it off with the update here, talking about Brenen Lorient, because I think that's the one we were most hopeful for and most expecting, from the time that we landed. Coach Hodge, Brenen Lorient was the one that I said I wanted from North Texas. If we were going to land anybody, I was really hoping that it would be Brenen Lorient, and we got good news on that yesterday. So let's pull it up. Let's talk about him a little bit here as we pull up our transfer tracker. This will be the first time we pulled up. We'll pull it up here in a little bit to go over some of the other targets. But you can see here now 2 names on the list. And what I love about both of these, and I kind of mentioned this previously because I was expecting Lorient to probably be the next transfer to commit to WVU. West Virginia struggled to get big men last year. They start this year with 2 big men here in the transfer class, and I think now you can maybe get you a good guard, hopefully, because you feel like you've solidified the front court a little bit. I think Lorient can be a starter, much like Obioha. With Lorient, you're talking about a guy that can run up and down the court, can guard probably, close to all 5 positions because he's so athletic, but he can absolutely jump out the gym. So, 2 rim projectors right here as well in OBO, Ha, and Lorient, which is to be expected, right? We know Coach Ross Hodge is going to bring that defensive mindset to WVU, so getting 2 guys that can help defend the paint with his no middle principles in his defense. That's obviously was something that was a really, big priority for them, and they went out and got a couple of big men that I think are going to help us a lot in this upcoming season. So a little bit more here on Brenen Lorient. Let's turn to the Rivals article from Keenan Cummings as he broke down the transfer yesterday. He always does a great job with these transfer 101s. And here he is talking a bit about Brenen Lorient, and there you can see him hitting a windmill dunk. If you want to see some of his athleticism, you can look up tape on him, see him, dunking through his legs. I mean, all kinds. This guy can absolutely fly. So that just shows you the athleticism that he possesses. 6'9", 215, as we mentioned there, coming off a standout season with North Texas, where he averaged nearly 12 points, 5 rebounds, and over a block per game across 25 minutes. And he wasn't a starter there at North Texas, but he was, the 6th man of the year on that conference. And despite not being the starter, he played more minutes on average than the guy that got the start there. So, could he come off the bench at WVU? Yes, but I would assume, depending on what else we pick up in the portal, that he may move into a starting role now after he really proved himself last season. Began his career at FAU, then goes to North Texas under Coach Hodge. Has a great year there, where he shot 57% from the field. Like I said, all American Athletic Conference and the league's 6th man of the year. Came to North Texas from FAU, where he spent 2 seasons. Saw his game flourish under Hodge, and now will make the leap to Morgantown to be a part of his first team with WVU. It'll be his final season of eligibility. The second portal commit, joining OBO Ha, as we talked about previously, fitting the program here. Lorient is exactly the type of athletic 4-man that college programs crave. He can finish above the rim and has length and athleticism, if I could get that out right, to be a factor on both ends of the floor. He scored over 60% of his points at the rim this past season and is equipped with a variety of options, including an effective jump hook and a floater. Can score with his back to the basket as well as create off the dribble. Has hit 48% from 3. We talked about that on the previous stream, but only shot the 28 3 attempts, so that's why, had the high percentage there, and is a plus passer for a big man. So I think that's something they've said about both OBO Ha and Lorient, is they can pass the ball as well to go with a good game there in the post. Blossomed this past season and was one of the most impactful players in the North Texas lineup, even without being a starter. And, you can have that sometimes. Take a Jay-Sean Page off the bench a few years ago at WVU. On the defensive end, he's a versatile piece that should translate well into the Big 12. Major piece to the building blocks of what this roster could eventually look like under Hodge. There's also a sense of trust between the two, and that was evident by him entering the portal with a no-contact tag and then committing to the Mountaineers a few days later. And that kind of goes hand in hand with what I've talked about with this edition. Good job there by Keenan Cummings. You guys check out his work over there at WVU Rivals. Always does a great job with those transfer 101s. But I think in addition to, what he brings on the floor, it kind of has an intangible aspect that's really a big positive for this edition of Brenen Lorient as well. Because, coming from North Texas, now you have someone that knows the system, knows the defense, knows the terminology, knows the way you're going to run a practice. All of these things are really going to help out your team overall and probably help with the, installation process of the scheme, kind of just help with the transition, make it a little bit smoother when you got guys on the court that can help in addition to the coaches themselves. So I think that's, kind of a hidden aspect of this. So there's one player that West Virginia added yesterday, but that wasn't the only one. We will be adding another high school player, and it's another one with great length. All 3 of these additions we've talked about, the 2 transfers, and now the first high school commit under Ross Hodge as well, has great length. DeAndre Thomas for this kind of similar to a game to kind of what Brenen Lorient brings. Not as much of a paint presence yet. He kind of plays a little bit like a guard, but he really is, I think, going to be a good player throughout his career. Here's what he put out on social media. If you guys want to follow him there, it's at DeAndre Tom 15. And yes, he incorrectly said University of West Virginia, but he'll get that down. He'll have it right from here on out. But he does commit to the Mountaineers after previously being committed to North Texas. We land DeAndre Thomas. So let me see if I can pull up his recruiting profile here. I meant to do that. I thought I had it already pulled up, but I guess I didn't. Okay. So here he is on the 247 page as far as his recruiting profile. 6'7", 210. I think he's up to 6'8" now maybe, but 6'7", 210 at this time. Was rated as a 3-star, but a top 30 player in the state of Texas, an 86 grade, which is a pretty high-rated 3-star there. Nearly a top 60 power forward in the country. West Virginia obviously is where he ends up after previously being committed to North Texas, and you see some of the other offers there. So there's a little bit on him. Let's go back to Rivals here. They did a nice write-up talking about him a little bit. Then I want to show you guys some of his plays as well. They were floating around on social media. I want to share you guys some video of the first commit here out of the high school ranks for Coach Ross Hodge. Intriguing both now and in the future, Keenan Cummings says here. 6'7", 210, signed with North Texas in November, but after the coaching change, he received his release from the Mean Green and committed to the Mountaineers last night. Thomas averaged 10.3 points, 5.4 rebounds, and 1.8 assists per game as a junior, and then followed that up, increasing those numbers, the scoring up to 11 and the assists up to over 2 per game as a senior on a high-level Allen basketball team there in Allen, Texas. Of course, first high school prospect to commit to West Virginia under Hodge. What else do we got here? Thomas is an athletic forward that can score in a variety of ways and a willing passer as well. Coming from a strong high school program will only be a benefit for Thomas making the transition to the Big 12. The addition of Thomas is the third, of course, joining Lorient and OBO Haas. We continue to develop this first roster. The thing that each of those have in common is the length, and it's clear that Hodge is looking to build a roster that has a nice mix of athleticism and versatility with an emphasis on the defensive end of the floor. West Virginia is going to continue to add more pieces to round out the roster, but Thomas is an intriguing addition that has almost become an unconventional source in today's era from the high school ranks. That is true. You do see that happen more often there with commits to previous schools following their coach if they go to a new school. And West Virginia is a beneficiary of that this time with DeAndre Thomas. But enough talking about him. Let's show some plays here. Some good stuff from DeAndre Thomas that I think will make you like his game. As we see here, the DJ Thomas dunk heard around the world. This one was posted back on February 25th. Let's take a look. Okay, that was pretty nice. So you like that he beats his man off the dribble already, gets past him and has him on his back. Doesn't go up for the lay-in, though, goes up strong and goes over top of another guy. And you can tell good athleticism there with how high up he is on that dunk for sure. So we got that one. And then here's some plays here from the Throne Hoops National Championship. As Chris Blakely says here, 6'8", 225 WVU Hoops commit DJ Thomas is a very high-ceiling forward out of Allen to keep an eye on. Fluid passing feel, good mindset, and a winning background. Let's take a look here. There's another nice dunk from him there on that one. Here he is working in the paint. Some good footwork there and hitting a nice fadeaway there. Good paint footwork there. He's got a nice little jump hook as well. It's kind of similar to what we said about Lorient, but he does have some range there. I think that's one thing he has that Lorient doesn't, is the little bit ability to step outside and shoot more. And Lorient probably has an advantage on him as being, a rim protector. Of course, Lorient been a college player for many years now. This is a guy coming out of high school, but coming in as a freshman, he has good size, and with the versatility of his game here that you're seeing, some good passes, you're seeing finishes around the rim, obviously the athleticism, but you're seeing him be able to stretch outside. If he can hold up and on the defensive end, which he should be able to size-wise with his length, if he can keep up speed-wise with the college level, I think he'll be a solid contributor right away as a freshman. Now, is he going to be a starter? I wouldn't go so far as to say that. Just depends on what else we pick up in the portal. But, depending on that, he'll have a chance maybe. Jonathan Powell probably didn't think he was going to be a starter right away, and he was. So I think there's a chance for DJ Thomas, depending on how the rest of the roster shapes out. But I think he will be a player that will see plenty of playing time this upcoming season as a true freshman there, as we take a look at some of those highlights there that kind of shows the versatility of his game a little bit. And excited about that addition. So we add Brenen Lorient, we add DJ Thomas from the high school ranks, but we also have a couple other North Texas players that have hit the portal that we've talked about in the past. And could they also follow Coach Hodge and now follow Brenen Lorient and come to WVU? I think there's a good chance on those guys. Let's talk about those first, and then we will pull up our transfer tracker in general. One of those being Grant Newell. We've talked about him briefly, but haven't talked about him a ton, so I wanted to pull up here and talk about his numbers. And then we'll talk about the most recent addition, which I think would be a really big pickup because now, we're adding length, we're adding big man. We need to get some guards in here as well. But first, let's talk about Grant Newell, the 6'9", 220 junior. He averaged 6 points, 4 rebounds, shooting near the 41% from the field there. And, of course, coming from North Texas will be another benefit of knowing the system, knowing the defense, all of that stuff that we talked about with Brenen Lorient as well. And he was the one that started most of the games, but you see he played around 22 minutes per game. You saw Lorient played around 25 minutes per game. So if you're able to add Newell, you're adding both of the forwards, the 4 men that played last year at North Texas to the West Virginia team as well. I believe his percentage isn't as high, but probably a bit more of a consistent shooter. Looks like he takes more threes than what Lorient does, so maybe his game stretches out a little bit more, as evidenced by the nice free throw percentage as well. Doesn't have the rim protecting side the way that Lorient does, as you see only just 0.2 blocks per game, but he does grab some rebounds, and I'm sure plays good defense nonetheless, especially with the 6'9" frame. So would be a welcomed addition for his knowledge of the system, his ability to have started college basketball games in the past, which you can't discount, and of course the knowledge of the system and the defense that already is going to be installed. Would welcome that addition. But then just yesterday when I was doing the football stream, someone pointed out to me in the comments that Jasper Floyd hit the transfer portal, which he's a transfer guard coming from North Texas as well. And as you see, that's the tweet there I shared yesterday talking about him entering. But we got some really good news here potentially from Jeff Cobb, who works for Blue Gold News. He says all indications are that Jasper Floyd will make his way to WVU to play for new Mountaineer coach Ross Hodge. Tough-minded point guard who would play a major role at West Virginia. And yes, he can shoot as well. He's a great shooter, but he really is good with the on-ball defense, which would be awesome to add. And you see 6'3", 195. I think he would be probably a day one starter along with Lorient as well, especially considering he'd be the only guard really on the roster that West Virginia's brought in thus far. But he averaged 9 points, 3 rebounds, and nearly 4 assists. So you see 42% from the field, 34% from three-point range. That goes right hand in hand with what I'm saying there about him being a good shooter. And the 4-to-2 assist to turnover ratio is what I really like, plus what he brings you on the defensive end, as I talked about being a really good on-ball defender. Averaged 2 steals the year before last, averaged over a steal, almost a steal and a half this past year, and grabs rebounds despite being a guard. So I think you can see just in some of his numbers that tough-minded mindset that you're talking about there with Jasper Floyd, who I would love to pick up now that he has entered the portal. You see he's listed as a senior there, and that's because he has the ability to enter the portal because of that new ruling that went into place last year with the Diego Pavia case where the junior college years don't count. So since he played a junior college year, he gets an extra year. He decides to hit the portal, and hopefully will come to WVU, would be a great start to, the backcourt. We need to add guards, and the fact that he has a ton of experience. This would be a graduate player, so would love to add Jasper Floyd as well. Having said that, let me take a swig of my coffee. Then we'll pull up the full list, talk about the other players West Virginia's after in the portal on the basketball side, and talk about who you should maybe be on commitment watch for in the near future. All right, there we are. Let's pull up our transfer tracker here now and talk about the other targets, because I think there are multiple names to keep an eye on here. Obviously, the two we just talked about, Grant Newell and Jasper Floyd, are probably the ones you should certainly be on commitment watch for here. But I teased it earlier that we had some good news on one of the very best players that we've targeted, and that's the one that I've told you guys in the past couple of streams. Honor Huff is probably my number one on the wish list. Felt like it might have been a bit of a pipe dream because so many teams were after him, and he's one of the best three-point shooters in all of college basketball last season. Chattanooga just won the NIT, and he was a big reason why. But we have some positive news. West Virginia is very much in this thing for Honor Huff's services. We'll talk about some of the other guys momentarily, but let me pull up this list really quickly because we talked about Newell and we talked about Floyd, who I think is on commitment watch for, but maybe we'll throw Honor Huff in there as well. The nation's leader in three-point makes. This just came out about 30 minutes before I started the stream from On3. He's down to 5 schools, and guess what? We're in the mix. So we got at least a 20% chance to land Honor Huff. Iowa, St. John's, West Virginia, Vandy, and Pitt are the schools that he is focused on. Spit. But NIT champion, averaged 15 points per game this season, shooting nearly 42% from three. So we've talked about how much of a sniper he is, how good it would be to add him. And you see West Virginia there has a 1 in 5 chance, 20% chance to land Honor Huff. Hopefully it works out in our favor. If not, we have some other guards that we're after as well that I think would be good additions, but he's definitely at the top of the wish list. So fingers crossed there on that one. Keep an eye on Honor Huff. Keep an eye on the two other North Texas players, Grant Newell and Jasper Floyd. But if we don't land Honor Huff, I think my next guard I would love to see us go after and maybe get on the list is Don McHenry from Western Kentucky. Obviously, we're already going after him. We've contacted him here, but he would probably be the next one up if we can't land Honor Huff and Jasper Floyd. I'm hoping to land Jasper Floyd and either Honor Huff or McHenry. We'll see how it plays out moving forward. But some other players West Virginia still in the mix for: Terrence Ginyard from UT Martin, Isaiah Barnes from Tulsa, Themis Fulks from Milwaukee, Troy, Tayton Conaway from Troy, Devin Hade from Central Connecticut, Makai Mason from Washington. Those are the guards. And then a few forwards here: Garrick Norman from Michigan State, Duke Brennan from Grand Canyon, Jermichael Stillwell from Milwaukee, although I did see he scheduled 3 visits and West Virginia wasn't one. So, we can't rule him out completely as he hasn't committed anywhere else yet, but it's not looking that great. And I think probably a big reason why is West Virginia added Brenen Lorient. They may add Grant Newell, and of course they just added DJ Thomas from the high school ranks as well. So maybe he's just choosing to go another route. But those are the players West Virginia is still in contention for. As you see the names in red, there were previous contacts that have committed elsewhere. The ones in blue are the 2 WVU commits, of course, Obio, Ha, and Lorient. And we'll continue to add to this list as I see new names that West Virginia reaches out to and tries to target in the portal. But that's kind of where we stand currently. I would keep a close eye on Newell and Floyd and see what they choose to do here in the near future. Maybe we'll be adding them to this list, the transfer in list as well, which now has grown to 2 names. And we also have an incoming freshman now as well to help this team as we rebuild the roster under Coach Hodge. But that's pretty much what I had, guys. I want to catch up on some of your all's comments, and then we will call it a show here. Just wanted to talk a bit about the really impactful addition of Brenen Lorient that I think is a huge pickup for the Mountaineers out of the portal, and then probably an underrated addition in DJ Thomas joining as a high school freshman that'll be on this roster as well. And then, of course, a ton of targets there that we're going after, and some really good ones that hopefully we can land. But appreciate you guys that tuned in live on Facebook, Twitch, or YouTube. If you watched on Facebook or Twitch, be sure to come over to the Country Roads Webcast YouTube channel. Subscribe here so you can stay up to date on this transfer portal class for WVU Hoops, and of course roster management on the football side as well. Those of you that watch on YouTube, whether live or on the playback, be sure to hit the thumbs up button. Help us out before you head out, and be sure you're subscribed to the channel as well. If you didn't get a chance to throw your questions, comments in the chat, throw them in the comments. Always appreciate those interactions as well. Drumwolf, see Drumwolf in here, appreciate you. 2 arriving, and we need 12 more players. We need more centers for sure. Yeah, I would expect at least probably one more big man, and then definitely going to have some guards rolling in here soon, as we've got, several front court players right now. I think guard is probably what we'll see, commit here in the near future. He also says Lorient reminds him of a taller, athletic Oconee. I could see that. I think that his post game is a little bit better than Oconee, and his defense, especially rim protection, is a little bit better as well. So I would say slight upgrade from Oconee, but similar in body type for sure. Drummond says he heard more coaches coming from North Texas as well. Phil Forte is the one that I've been excited about, that I've been talking about here in the past, a few streams ago. I'm sure you were in there, Drum Wolf. But that's the one that I'm hoping to get official announcement on soon. I think that's a big addition. And from what I understand, they're just kind of waiting for the red tape to be done with that, for that to be officially announced, because I think he is the one that's really making a strong push for us to maybe get Honor Huff. Excited about that. And then the other name that I've heard is Jace Hurl, which would be kind of perfect because Phil Forte is kind of the offensive guy there at North Texas. And then Jace Hurl helped Ross Hodge with the defense. Didn't mean to hit the mic there. Similar to how Ross Hodge helped McCaslin when he was there. So those would be 2 really good assistants to add. And also, I did see it going around on social media that Jace Hurl and Braden Hawthorne started following each other. So that's the other piece of this update that I meant to touch on, was that Braden Hawthorne, I think we still got a chance there. We're getting back in the fold. We're trying to get him back. I think the other ones are McLean and Odie are done deal. They're not coming back in. But Hawthorne, we still stand a chance at, and they're pushing hard to get him to join as well, which would be great to have both DJ Thomas and Hawthorne coming in this class. That would make up for, all the decommits that we've suffered, I think, at least. Drumwolf says it's going to be awesome for WVU in basketball and football next season. Let's go Mountaineers. Hey, that's right, Drumwolf. Well said. WV1 channel member, good to see you, man. Glad you're in here because I mentioned it in the pinned a comment to the last stream, but I forgot to mention it. But now that you're in here, that did a great job refreshing my memory. You did end up winning the CRW Bracket Challenge group. So if you'll shoot me an email, countryroadswebcast@gmail.com, so I can send you your 2 months of free membership there to the Almost Heaven level. I'll get that to you via Cash App or PayPal, either one, whichever you prefer. But shoot me an email, countryroadswebcast@gmail.com, and we'll get that set up. Yeah, and shout out, congrats to you, WV1, for winning the CRW Bracket Challenge this year. Appreciate that. Appreciate everybody playing. We had a nice turnout. Appreciate the kind words there, Drumwolf. Always appreciate you as well. And everyone else that tuned in here, appreciate you guys as well also. As always, I'm Jordan Cruz, and I'll be back to chat with you guys in the near future. I'm sure we're going to have news on some basketball commits in the very near future, and, of course, more transfer portal updates on the football side as well. Thank you as well, Doug. See you popping in there late. Appreciate that. But having said that, until next time, let's go Mountaineers.